Hi, friends. How are you? So I was planning to do some kind of celebratory post to mark my 2-year anniversary on Substack. And it was last week and I didn't do that. So I thought instead I might show up and do one of these. Originally, I called this little segment Lab Notes. And for those of you who are very new to my publication, just know that I rarely do them. In fact, it's been a very long time since I did one. So if you're afraid of video interaction with your authors, you need not be afraid because this is not something I do very often because it's nerve-wracking, and I'll just leave it at that. But I like to do it every once in a while. It's a nice, quick way for me to catch you up on everything that's going on and everything that's coming up. If you don't feel like watching or listening to me, I do plan on sort of recapping all of this in the post, so you can shut me off and just go read if you prefer. With that said, let's forge ahead. So first thing I want to say real quick is I just, as of yesterday, or maybe 2 days ago, launched a new author website. So I've had one up for about a year on a certain hosting platform, which was wonderfully inexpensive, and I very much got what I paid for, but it was no longer doing everything I needed it to do. So I have upgraded. You can find that website at me.com, megolders.com. There can be only one. And let me know what you think if you take a peek at it, or if you see anything weird that doesn't look right or a link that's broken. It was a lot of work, and I guaranteed made a couple of mistakes along the way. So if you do catch anything, let me know. And thank you for taking a peek at that. The next thing I want to talk about is the Whatties of Wattpad. For those who are new and haven't heard me talk about it enough already, last year at beginning of December 1st, my book, C. Smile, one of my young adult novels, won a Wattie Award on the platform Wattpad. And it was very exciting. And it's coming up now on the 1-year anniversary of that win, which means it's coming up on the end of my contract, for lack of a better word, with Wattpad to keep the book on the platform. So I'll add to that, I did submit a second book, a book called Ava Remastered, which is another YA novel that I wrote for this year's Wattie Awards. They just announced the shortlist, and yours truly was not on it. So not really a shocker. It would have been pretty mystically fantastic if I won 2 years in a row, but I did not. So now I'm sort of sitting here in a position of, okay, what do I do? Do I just leave both of those books on Wattpad indefinitely? Dot still gets a little bit of attention over there, very little, and probably less now that there's a new crop of winners coming up. But it's there, and if anyone wants to read it, they can do so for free, as well as the other novel that's there. So in the short term, I think I'm going to leave it until I have a really solid plan of what I want to do with it next. And I'm not sure I'm done with that book, C. Smile in particular. I think she still has legs to carry her somewhere. So that's that. That's the Wattpad scene. Next, I want to talk about my podcast, Talk Fiction. So I started a podcast this past year. First episode, I think, went out in March, and I did 9 episodes without stopping. And so I'm pretty proud of that endeavor. I actually think it was pretty good too. I don't know if you've had a chance to listen. They're all here on my Substack. There's a little section at the top of my homepage. You can go take a listen. It's also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all the fun places you may listen to things of that nature. I had a fantastic lineup of guests, and I'm very grateful to all of them for humoring me, if you will. I also hope they had a good time. And I think the stuff we talk about on the show is valuable and useful, and we had a good time doing it. So if you have some time and you like to stick things like that in your ear when you're mowing the lawn or taking a walk or on your commute, I'd love for you to have a listen. So there's that. As for the future of Talk Fiction, I am taking a brief hiatus through the end of the calendar year, I think, before I start that up again, because I very much would like to continue it. And I will admit that my guest list for season 1 was a staple of wonderful people who I already knew and felt comfortable talking with already, or had already talked with quite a bit. So there was a comfort level there that I may not have in season 2. I'm going to be reaching out a little bit to talk to some people who I've been paying attention to on Substack, some people who I think would have some valuable things to share with everyone in the fiction writing community. So I'm going to be attempting that come January. So I'll keep you posted. In behind the scenes land, submitting work to contests and publications. I did have a recent win, my short story Sweet 16, which back last year won the first ever Lunar Award. Also just got a nod from Writer's Digest. They had their annual writing competition and the story got an honorable mention. So that was pretty exciting. Obviously, I like to tell you guys about the wins more than the losses, but there will be undoubtedly a balance of both. I'm guessing the losses will be higher, but it's all part of the game. With that said, I have a couple of exciting plans to share. This year, I'm planning to put out 2 books. I don't want to say too much more about it. Well, I'll say a little bit about it. So the first book should be out before the holidays. I'm hoping in the next month or so. And that's going to be a self-published poetry collection. And as much as it's going to be a collectible for whoever likes my poetry and just wants to have a keepsake on your shelf, or I'm probably going to try to make an ebook version of it as well for folks who prefer to read in that medium. It will be available to you for purchase. Yes, not going to be giving them away. That's what the Substack is for. So I will keep you posted on that. I'm excited about it because the other thing I'm doing that project for is to learn considerably more about book design, interior book design, which I am learning a lot about. And so this is going to be in many ways a practice run for me for future self/independent publications moving forward, which brings me to the second book I'm planning on putting out, which will be a short story collection. And I will not say any more about that at this time, but I'm hoping/half promising that that will be in the world come spring of 2025. So very much looking forward to sharing more with you about that as the information becomes shareable. So that's exciting. What else? Thank yous. Yes. First of all, I want to thank, so this is the thing. The title of this post was intentionally overdramatic, that this is going to be my last annual report. Reason being, I have been learning a lot on the side about just working on goals and setting myself up with expectations. And there's the kind of like a programmed need for us to plan things in years. And I find it's problematic. And so I'm going to be trying to shorten my goalposts essentially, and stop kind of looking at my accomplishments in years, because to be honest, that freaks me out a little bit because I am the years old that I am. And when I think about years, I think about, how many do I have left to figure this out? So I'm trying to keep just my thinking on a smaller scale in terms of what I'm reaching for. And if the goalpost is closer, I think that's going to work better for me, or at least that's my theory. So we're going to see about that. So no more big parties on my Substack anniversaries. It's cool that I've been here for 2 years, and I'm pretty positive I'll still be here next year, and I'll mention it. I'll wave and say, here I am, still here 3 years later. But I do have some people I just want to thank for making this 2 years a very positive experience. I'm not going to call them out specifically. I don't really do that. But first, I want to thank every writer on this platform who is recommending Stock Fiction, there are now 70 of you, which is like one of the coolest numbers I get to look at on my dashboard. Obviously, my subscriptions have gone up considerably. They've tripled in the last year, and that's also wonderful. But just really grateful to the folks who think my stuff is good enough to share with their readers. So if you are one of those people, thank you for your recommendation. And I apologize for getting misty. This is what I do now, so don't take it personally or think it's weird. This is just what happens when I talk about things that make me proud and happy. So the next people I want to thank are my paid subscribers. Yes, I have paid subscriptions on my Substack, and yes, you are welcome to take one out if you like. Currently, there are no added benefits to being a paid subscriber other than the warm fuzzies that come with supporting art and artists. That may change in the coming months if the loony plan that I have swimming around in my head comes to fruition. There may very well be a very cool feature coming up for people who want to take out paid subscriptions. I'm not going to promise that because, again, my goalposts are shortening, so I'm not jumping too far ahead. But in the meantime, if you do want to take out a paid subscription, it is always appreciated. There are costs to being a writer and trying to make writing work. It's pretty much all costs until someone's writing you a check for a book. So I am losing money at this. Doesn't mean I'm going to stop doing it, but if you do want to support my efforts and my projects, my upcoming projects and future projects, just hit the upgrade button anytime. And I do want to mention also that last year I put into place something of an experiment where I offered, basically, if you paid for a subscription, you would be paid forever, comped forever. And I do want to let you know that I'm moving forward, going to remove that feature, mostly because it didn't actually attract people to taking out paid subscriptions. And I want people to feel like they can continue supporting me if they choose. So I didn't want to keep that limitation there. Obviously, people are welcome to pay for a year and then stop paying. So I'm just going to put that responsibility back on you guys to do that. That said, if you did take advantage of my forever subscription last year, you are forever comped. I'm not going to take those away. And I greatly appreciate those of you who did support me in the last year, in the last 2 years financially. So thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so what did I write down here? Stock Fiction's future. Oh, heavens. That sounds precarious. Well, Stock Fiction has a future. It has to, not only because I have 250 of these really sexy business cards to hand out with a QR code on them. So until those are gone, I'm sticking here. So, so that's good. My constant battle, and it's not really a battle because it's mostly fun, but with this Substack is deciding what to write and whether or not it belongs here. Everyone has been very supportive of me just kind of throwing shit, excuse me, first swear of the video, at the wall and seeing what sticks. And that's been really valuable for me because I'm not exactly sure which thing is going to be the thing that I can really lean into and keep doing indefinitely, and that I know can find a spot in the big sea of coveted spots. So I'm going to keep doing that. I'm going to keep trying different things. I'm going to keep throwing poetry and fiction and humor and weird videos and satire and all that stuff at you. And I thank you for your flexibility on that. And obviously, if there's one section that you like better than the others, you do have the power to toggle off the ones you don't care for. If anyone ever needs help with their settings in Substack, I'm fairly adept at computer stuff now. I learned how to use computers. So that said, I'm just forging ahead with this. And that project I sort of mentioned, or did I mention it? Oh, yes, the paid subscriber feature. Okay. So, God, I don't want to give away too much. It's mostly because it's not a fully formed idea. Just stay with me. Just stick around because it might be a really cool thing that I do. That's so vague and annoying. So, anyway, what else did I want to say? No more annual recaps. I'm just going to recap when there's something to tell you. I'll always give you news if there's news. And if there's not news, then I'll just give you something entertaining. That's my plan. And that's about me just focusing on the present and leaning into the things I'm excited and passionate about in the moment instead of looking so far ahead that I don't know what direction I'm supposed to go to get there. So this is all part of my mantra work, which brings me to the mantra that I wanted to share with you. So this is the last thing I'll do. I'm going to be like super corny now because I can do that. It's my Substack. So I do yoga in the mornings, and I found this new woman on YouTube that I like. And she had a series where in each of the videos, she kind of shared a mantra. And like, I'm not a big mantra person. Like, I like hearing them, but you're not going to catch me like saying them out loud when they say like, oh, and now say this. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to say it. But there was one in particular that really got me. So I do this yoga. It's called somatic yoga. And it's all, it's very woo-woo in terms of like, oh, you store all your emotions and blah, blah, blah. And when you do these exercises, then like you can free your emotions and break up all your blocks and whatever. So, whether or not I buy into that, it doesn't matter. But in this one particular episode, at the end, she shared this mantra and I heard it and it just hit me in the guts. And I was just like crying and it was ridiculous. I was like, oh, that's what they're talking about. So I'm going to share the mantra with you and I'm already misty. So the mantra is, today I have the power to change my story. And I think that's particularly valuable for me. This is so stupid. Just give me a second. I'm fine. This is just what happens when you're 44 years old. So I think it's valuable for any of us who are trying to do this or just trying to like exist right now, because we feel powerless a lot. But we're not, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So for those of us who are working hard at this and crying for no reason on their anniversary videos, it's not for no reason. I have a lot of hope and wishes, and I can do it. So, and you can too. We can do it. We can do it, and it might not be in the way we think we're going to be able to do it, but we really do have the power to take steps forward. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. It's like if you want ABC, you can't just assume ABC is just going to happen to you or fall in your lap, which is a mistake that I make sometimes. I just think if I keep like running around randomly, that I'm just going to bump into a wall of success, like I did when I met my husband. That was pretty lucky. I just figure stuff like that happens all the time, but it doesn't. And you have to take steps in the direction of the thing that you want. So that is what year 3 of Stock Fiction and Meg Olders is going to be about. Taking steps, even when it's scary, because it's always scary, guys. I'm sorry. I mean, I've shown today that I'm not impervious, and most of the stuff I do is very scary here. So thanks for sticking with me and thanks for listening. For those, I didn't individually thank people, but I will. I do. I find ways to do it. And there are some people I haven't talked to in a long time that I will be checking in with soon because I'm thinking of you and I know you're working hard and we got this. All right, kittens. Thank you. Happy anniversary, Stock Fiction. And I will see you next time. Cheers.